Today, a world first on monkey life. Alison is in Vietnam on a groundbreaking mission to release captive gibbons back into the wild.
Have we done everything we can? In the coming days, we're going to find out the answer.
But the team get into trouble when they're hit by bad weather.
They just need peace now. They don't need this anymore.
It's a race against time to get the gibbons to the release site. This is Dao Tien Rescue Center in Vietnam. It's the sister sanctuary of Monkey World in Dorset, and the staff here dedicate their lives to rescuing and rehabilitating endangered Vietnamese primates.
We just would like to make a nice life for the monkey.
Alison has travelled 6,000 miles from the UK to visit the centre, which lies 160 miles northeast of the capital, Ho Chi Minh City. Vietnam in Southeast Asia is a densely populated country. But outside the hubbub of the cities, it's rich in exotic wildlife. Alison makes regular trips here, but this visit is particularly special.
I was going to ask if she...
At the airport, she meets up with Marina Kenyon, who's in charge of Dao Tien, and Dr. Curtis Pei, who helped to set up the centre and has flown in from Taiwan. Like many countries, Vietnam struggles with the illegal trade in wildlife. Poaching and smuggling are common, and the law is difficult to enforce. Dao Tien was set up to protect some of the most endangered species of primates, including golden-cheeked gibbons. But unlike Monkey World, Dao Tien is not designed to provide a home for them for the rest of their lives.
Dao Tien is a rescue, rehabilitation and release center, and this is the first time that we're preparing to actually do the final phase, release back out into the wild. 2 family groups ready to go back out into the wild, and we're all really excited.
On their way to Dao Tien, Alison, Marina and Curtis decide to check out the site where the gibbons will be released. This is Vinh Cu National Park. The site was chosen because there are no wild gibbons here and few predators. The forest was obliterated during the long Vietnamese War, which ended in 1975, but it has now regenerated.
So how far in here are we?
200 meters.
Okay.
And I think the forest is fabulous. Tree density is really high. Species richness is great.
There's been loads of fruit on the way.
Yep.
The 2 families of gibbons can't be released into the same area because gibbons are territorial, so 2 sites have had to be chosen a kilometre apart.
It's good. The forest is very much like in Dao Tien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the trees grow very well.
Vinh Cu borders another national park called Cat Tien, where Dao Tien Rescue Center is based. The gibbons can't be released there because, thanks to the work of the park, there's already a thriving population.
Actually, Vinh Cu Nature Reserve is going to be joining Cat Tien National Park because they share a border, and it will become the Dong Nai, which is the province that both parks are in, Dong Nai Biosphere Reserve. So, you know, it's sort of a new forest with a new family group of gibbons coming, and hopefully everybody will grow up and mature together.
Good place.
Yeah.
Good spot.
Cool. In another 10 years, this is just going to be some of the best forest in the south of Vietnam, and it's going to be full of gibbons.
As Alison and Marina continue their journey to the rescue centre, workers there are busy looking after the primates that have been brought in after being confiscated by the Vietnamese authorities. Dao Tien is based on an island. It was set up with the full cooperation of the Vietnamese government. In the 3 years since it's been opened, it's cared for more than 30 golden-cheeked gibbons. As part of their rehabilitation, before the gibbons are released into the wild, they're set free on part of the island to give them a taste of life in the trees. As soon as they arrive at Dao Tien, Marina and Alison check on the two families they've chosen to be released 50 kilometres away in Vinh Khu National Park. Da, Lat and baby Huang have been enticed into a holding cage.
Oh, look at her. She is angry.
Yeah.
I know, we're going to let you out soon.
Da and Lat were rescued from a roadside restaurant where they'd been kept in a small cage. They arrived at the centre in 2008 and have thrived ever since. Huang was born while they were living in the semi-free area on Dao Tien.
It's really nice that Da and Lat are individuals that I've known from when we very first rescued them, and now they're going to be some of the first individuals that go back out into the wild for the very first time. So seeing an individual such as Da and Lat here from the tiny, horrible cages at this roadside stop. It was a construction site. There was all kinds of noise and banging and crashing, making the complete circle, and it's just a really lovely story for them, but for me personally.
The second family to be released will be Mary and Lily with their baby Noelle. They were paired at the centre after arriving separately. Alison and her late husband Jim Cronin were tipped off that Lily was living on his own in a cage at a petrol station. He was one of the first Gibbons to be confiscated by the Vietnamese authorities and taken to Dao Tien when it opened.
Out of all the Gibbons, it's probably Lily that we've worried about the most. But now Lily's a proud dad. He's got a fabulous female and he travels through the trees like a wild gibbon. So now he's just, he's ready to go.
The team have been waiting for the right time of year. Now is perfect, as it's midway through the rainy season, so there's plenty of water for the two families and the trees are full of fruit. It's an early start for the team the next morning. Once the rain has cleared, work gets underway. The Gibbon families are going to be taken to the release site separately. Vet Uli Stryker is preparing to anaesthetise Da so that they can attach a GPS collar to him. Luckily, she's able to inject him by hand rather than darting him, which could have caused unnecessary stress.
I think that worked. He might just go nicely on the floor. Oh, perfect. Yeah.
The Gibbons are being given GPS collars because they can be monitored much more easily than radio collars. But they're very bulky, and Marina is concerned.
If it's not right, it's not right.
If it's massive dead trouble, then
Yeah, it's coming off. And we can
it's
just,
gonna come off.
I've got another radio collar, we can use just radio collar.
Yeah.
This will be the first time Gibbons have ever been released back into the wild with GPS collars to track them. Lat has seen what happened to her partner and is wary. There's no need for her to have a collar as they live in pairs.
There's a lot of ifs pending right now. We've got to hope that the female's calm enough and steady enough that we can actually encourage her to go in her box without an anesthetic. Trying to dart a female with a baby on board, very dangerous.
Lat, 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 come here. Lat, Lat, Lat.
Oh,
Perfect.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Da and Lat have had to be separated because it would be too dangerous for them to go in one cage. The journey will be long and stressful. The first stage is to take them across the water to the mainland. Now they have a 4-hour journey to the release site.
This last stage is the hardest stage of all. It's quite a bumpy road, it's just a dirt track. And last night there was lots of heavy rain, which means that we're having to take it very slow. And I'm not quite sure how far we'll get before we have to walk.
The road suddenly becomes impassable.
Whoosh! That's not going.
Despite all their best efforts, they can't move the truck. Marina is worried about the gibbons.
They just need peace now. They don't need this anymore. No, she's too stressed.
In Vietnam, the team are on their way to Vinh Cu National Park, where golden-cheeked gibbons Da, Lat and their baby Huang will be released into the wild. They've had to ditch the truck and now face a grueling 2-hour trek through the forest. The forest rangers, known as the Kim Lam, lead the way. Being the rainy season, it's hot and the conditions are difficult, but they need to get the gibbons settled as soon as possible.
Last little leg into the forest where we have the release cage that Da and Lat will actually stay in for 1 or 2 days just to calm down, get a bit of food on board and relax before we open the door in 2 days' time, and then this will be their new home for good. The Kim Lam from both Dao Tien and Vinh Cu have been really pushing the limits here to make all of this happen, so it's a really lovely team effort. Fantastic.
Finally, they arrive at the holding cage. It's been a stressful journey for the gibbons.
Yeah, that's enough.
This is an ideal site, because although there are no other wild gibbons here, there are some within the national park. So hopefully one day, Huang will be able to find a partner.
Back. Okay, wait.
Go south.
Yes. Okay. All right. Okay.
Gosh. We good?
This project has been a long time in the planning and wouldn't have been possible without the support of local officials from the national parks. It's an emotional time for everyone.
Yeah, really pleased. This has been a long road.
I'm very happy. Really like my home, so.
Yep.
Yeah, and the same home with the Gibbons, so.
And Mr. Jim.
Yeah, Mr. Jim too. Yeah. So.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Ton, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now it's the hardest bit now.
The team want Da and Lat to have some time on their own before they're set free. And they want to make sure Da is comfortable with his GPS collar. The release site will be maintained by the Kim Lam. Alison and Marina have set up a meeting with the heads of the ranger stations and of the national park to make sure they understand their responsibilities.
And what we aim to do is establish guidelines for the whole of Vietnam, if not for the whole of Asia, on how to reintroduce gibbons. I want them to understand the project, and more than anything, how to do things correctly. It's very important that they realise this is something very big and very special, so they can help motivate, organise the Kim Lam on the day-to-day patrolling and caring for, looking after, protecting Mary, Lily and Da and Lat. So these are the key people, because these are the people on the ground in the forest. It's so important that for the next year we follow Lily's family and Da's family to see if they survive, and this task is now yours. They have to now learn how to behave around the gibbons to make sure that they don't compromise them at all. They can't go under them, they can't go with food, they can't interfere with them at all. When I saw on the table, everybody had their notepad out and making notes on what to do. So yes, they took it very, very seriously, which was perfect.
The next day, after another arduous trek through the forest, Mary, Lily and Noel have arrived at their release site, a kilometre away from Da and Lat. But this time, a whole host of local dignitaries and press have accompanied them. With so many people around, stress levels soon start to rise.
This is such an important project for the national park. A lot of people are taking an interest. It's also the first time that this has ever been done in the world, so gibbons are going back out into the wild with GPS collars. So right now it's quite a high-stress situation in order to try and keep things calm and keep things good for the gibbons. So Marina's just almost off limits right now, and I'm trying to help her out doing what I can with crowd control.
Marina is worried about the gibbons.
You wouldn't think it could be so stressful just moving a gibbon 50 kilometres, but it's usually so stressful.
Mary is let out first.
Holding tight, good. She was captured as pretty much an adult, so she has very wild instincts, and therefore even people just looking at her is difficult, and it's hard to tell everybody who's out here from the national park not to even look at her directly in the eye, because it freaks her out. So we really want her to keep tight hold of the baby, but so far so good.
Now it's Lily's turn. He goes straight up to see Mary.
I get stressed. God knows how they feel. And now, though, they have to focus on trees and leaves, which is their world, not on cars and other stuff.
With everyone gone, they can start getting used to the new sounds and smells of the forest. The day of the release has arrived. Da, Lat and Huang are going to be the first family to be let out.
Nerve-wracking, but out of all of us, the gibbons are the steadiest. And they seem the most relaxed. They're both looking bright, alert, they're eating, they've been checking out the trees. They're not scared, they're just bored. They want to be out of the cage.
In the wild, gibbons work out a mental map of the fruiting trees so they know where to find food. Until these gibbons have had a chance to do this, rangers will be putting out supplementary food high up in the canopy.
Cow.
Finally, the moment they've all been waiting for.
Yeah, really exciting.
Da is out. He waits for Lat. Then they're off.
Gotta go because the males come back and we don't want them to come close to us, so it's time for us to pull back and leave them to it. But perfect, first one.
With one family up and away, the team head towards Mary and Lily at their release site, a kilometre away. In the wild, gibbons stick together in family groups, but these two haven't been with each other as long as Da and Lat, so there's concern they may not stay together when they're set free.
Mr. Dan's gonna have to move fast. long journey and we've finally got 2 back in the trees, and feels a bit floaty at the moment, especially when they just moved out of the cages like wild gibbons, as if like, oh, that was so easy.
It's the last step in the process, but Marina and her team now have a long road ahead to monitor to make sure that we are doing the right thing, and then the process will become easier and easier for all of those other gibbons back on Dao Tien. But yeah, I mean, it's hot out here and I've got goosebumps. Absolutely fantastic.
Next time on Monkey Life, Capuchin Diaz has emergency surgery.
Unfortunately, Diaz got quite a nasty injury. It's quite a big slash wound.
And the park welcomes a new mate for Siamang Gibbons Sam.
We just hope that he's going to get on really well with her and they're going to have a really happy future together.